we're rolling, Johnny.
Rolling.
We're rolling after lunch. Everyone's potatoes.
It's going.
Okay.
Potato night.
Right. So we were talking about. Thank you, Bailey. Heat excitation, and we were looking at plants. Okay. No, we finished it.
You said we were looking at.
So we've just done that, haven't we? We ended by me saying we're going to cover more remedies later on, and we said Lindsay Flower and lemon balm. Right, okay. Next tissue state is wind tension. So changeable like the wind, symptoms that are on and off and on and off, not constant.
Tissue state, wind status.
Yeah, wind tension.
That's what was after the
So a little bit, what's easy to recognise about this tissue state is that it's based around tension. So if we're looking at tension within the cardiovascular system, you are possibly looking at palpitations.
Use that as a pointing device.
I could, Johnny.
Oh, it's like an arrow.
This is.
Don't burn that.
So you're looking at palpitations, or you're looking at something that is removing the rhythm. So the boom, 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 boom rhythm becomes sporadic is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it changes like the wind changes direction, it changes the rhythm, yeah? That's going to affect breathing. So typically what you're looking at is nervous tension, not heat tension, yeah?
Sorry, did you just say before that affects breathing?
Yeah, it's going to affect breathing because it's going to, instead of it being that constant rhythm of bum, 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 it's going to be bum, 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 bum. You know, it's going to be changeable, not flowing, not rhythmic at all.
Yeah.
So typically you're looking at nervous tension rather than tension from heat. Yeah, so we see this with the heart itself, but also with the vascular. So in the vascular you would see an excess tightness, yeah, in the flow. So you'd be looking at constriction in some part, constriction. So closing up of the vascular, preventing the blood from getting to the surface. Possibly even, if it's preventing blood from getting to the surface, then possibly even preventing sweating as well. So everything then gets stuck. So although it's a wind tension and it's changeable, if it's got that tension is restrictive, then the follow on to the tension being restrictive is that everything gets stuck. Yeah, there's no flow. Pores stop opening. There's a constriction in the cardiovascular system somewhere. Elderflower here is really good as a relaxant diaphoretic, so it allows everything to relax and flow and open up. We'll do more on that afterwards.
What's the elderflower is a relaxant and what?
Diaphoretic, so it's going to get things, it's going to, by opening up, it'll get things to flow just by opening it up, because it's relaxing that tension.
Is that not a diuretic? A diaphoretic?
Diaphoretic.
Diaphoretic.
Yeah.
Is that the one sweating one?
Yeah. So it's opening all the pores. It's relaxing the flow so that, because the way that if the blood stops moving, it can then affect the pores opening, so we stop sweating and stuff, because the blood's actually not getting to the surface. It's stuck on the core, on the internal parts of things at the middle. So to get it all moving again and opening up and breathing, like, you know, skin is literally breathing again. Yeah, the blood's flowing again, and it's doing it by relaxing everything, because it's only blocked because of tension. So arterial constriction is a major way that this tissue state presents itself. So constriction of the arteries. And a way to test that is to feel down someone's arm for temperature difference. So, for example, okay. So, for example, if you were going down someone's arm, you would, if you go warm, 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 cool, warm, 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 then there's constriction, there's artery constriction. Whereas if you go warm, 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 cooler, 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 then that's just not the blood, that's different to constriction, that's the blood not getting out to the peripheries, yeah? It's not it being constricted in a certain place. I have actually got freezing cold there. Warm, hot actually, hot, warm, 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 freezing. Warm, 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 warm. You'll want to do it now,
I
don't you?
want to do it, but I don't want to take my jacket off.
I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah?
Right.
So it's like, it's, and again,
Cold there.
so some of the things we're going to go through with evaluation, again, they're like confirming points to look at. They're not a, oh my God, you have a cool spot on your elbow. Right, okay, cardiac surgery. That's not how to diagnose, yeah? We haven't even done diagnosis yet. But these are like little, like looking at the tongue. You don't look at someone and just say, oh my God, you've got a flame-shaped tongue. That's it, you've got heat rising.
The same as
You know,
the face.
Yeah, it's got to go along with everything else. These are just little points to look at to, if you're going, when you're going through your evaluation, when we do evaluation, whenever that's going to be, when you go through that, then it's just it's like a confirmation point. Okay, so this person's got that. Oh, and let's just check your tongue, or let's just do that on your arm. It's like, yep, that confirms that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a point of confirmation.
Yeah.
So that sort of cold spot, that tension is going to be like having a kink in a hose again. Yeah, think of a kink in a hose pipe. So the temperature alters where there's constriction. So wherever the constriction is, that's where the temperature is going to be altering. Whereas if there's a deficiency in heat, the same test would show warm at the top of the arm going down to colder, because that's away, it's moving away from the fire at the core, yeah? So then the drive of the blood is not getting to the peripheries, it's not being pumped effectively. People with freezing cold feet and freezing cold hands, it's not being pumped effectively to the peripheries, yeah? That's someone with a heat deficiency, not a constriction, not tension. Everyone gets the difference there, yeah? What we're seeing here is the impact of the nervous system upon the circulatory cardiovascular system, which would make sense because I've got MS and nerves are shit and don't communicate anywhere doing anything. So I would be shocked if I didn't have cold spots. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the impact of the nervous system on the cardiovascular or on the circulatory system. So most useful in this tissue state is our nervines with an affinity to the cardiovascular is best. So the three top calming cardiac nervines are number one, motherwort, again linden flower, and again lemon balm, and that is a really good triplet as well. You could use that in equal portions.
Sorry, motherwort and what, sorry?
Linden flower and lemon balm.
In equal measures.
Yeah, you could use them in equal measures. And motherwort, of course, is a bitter.
Sorry, they would relax and
They're the top three calming, because you've got the tension, so we need to relax. So they're the top three cardiac nervines that they're going to relax. They're going to readdress that. There's some sort of miscommunication between the nervous system and the arteries, basically, is what's happening in that tissue state. So we need to relax everything, but we also need to readdress that communication between the nervous system and the arteries.
yeah.
Another thing, and again I'm going to keep saying the same plants, another thing is hawthorn flower. Distinctly hawthorn flower, never used to be used, but well, wasn't reportedly used a lot, but we use hawthorn flower and the leaf now, and the leaf and flower have an undocumented distinct affinity with the nerves. I'll say undocumented because it depends who you're reading.
I was going to say, because
Yeah, it depends
that's
who you're
the
reading.
conversation from yesterday, like loads of my books saying, don't touch it.
Yeah,
Others are like, they use it.
I know. Yeah,
That's where I use my intuition. I think,
Yeah.
I don't.
yeah. But if you're using it for a client, but yeah, it
There's
depends
lots-
who you read. Yeah,
Distinct affinity with what? Sorry?
with
Cardiac neurons.
where did I just read that from?
Cardiac.
With the nervous side of cardiac. So you got hawthorn as is a top cardiovascular remedy, but you may be looking at hawthorn berry, but the flowers and the leaves have got an affinity with the nervous system, the interaction between the nervous system and the cardiovascular. Mistletoe is another one, but mistletoe is a toxic plant. It's a low dose plant. You don't use it unless you know exactly totally what you're doing. Mistletoe, wind, tension in heat. Yeah, so it is really good, but you'd want to do before you've got a lot of other things there to use. So before you use mistletoe, you'd want to read up a little bit about people who dose, so you'll get yourself again these good dosing books that we've talked about. Get yourself something that you can actually do a little bit of research on if you feel like you really need to use mistletoe.
What do you use, the berries or the leaves or both?
You'd want to look into what someone else is using,
What's the logic?
because you want to make sure that what you're doing.
Don't press me.
So
I do that.
circulatory for the vascular. Herbal action here to use to relax this tension, use antispasmodics. So we'd be using antispasmodics such as lobelia. And possibly you could use cramp bark as well.
What bark, sorry?
Cramp bark. Now, cramp bark, if anyone thinks about cramp bark, we always think of it as having an affinity with the uterus and uterine in contraction. However, what I'd say is, in my opinion, you're looking at the artery, you're looking at smooth muscle. Smooth muscle anywhere, that plant's going to work with that smooth muscle contraction. You've got a restriction, you've got a constricted artery, so you've got that smooth muscle that's cramped up, so cramp bark will relax it. In fact, it will relax use it for any smooth muscle spasm anywhere in the body, cramp bark. Something else to stick on that list is magnesium, because our food is deficient in magnesium, because our soil is deficient in magnesium, so therefore 98% of the country are deficient in magnesium. So 200 milligrams 3 times a day, that is going to help to relax this constriction.
How many a day, sorry?
3 times a day.
Magnesium 3 times a day?
200 milligrams 3 times a day is going to help in that situation, yeah. It's going to help to relax. So you're looking at anyone who's suffering extreme pain or spasm or a lack of energy or anything like that. We are, as a nation and America, painfully deficient in magnesium. We can't really not be. Right, next tissue state is dry atrophy. So what we're looking at is we see with dry atrophy, you're looking at a lack of moisture and unclear, undernourished tissues which have become then weakened. So that lack of moisture, undernourished tissue states then become weakened. If you think about the fact that every nutrient is delivered through oil or water, so if you're dry, those nutrients aren't gonna get delivered. They're not getting delivered, so the tissue starts to degrade, or it starts to become weak, or it starves actually. It's actually starving from nutrients. Becomes weakened. So ultimately what we see is wasting, like a wasting action, and then as part of that becomes a lack of function. So the tissue doesn't function as it's supposed to because it is weak. Example of that is cardiac neurasthenia, which is kind of like a nervous burnout type.
Can you spell the last bit?
Not a chance in hell.
Cardiac what?
Like that.
Neurasthenia.
Right.
Say it, can't spell it.
So I didn't hear you, that's why I asked you to spell it. Sorry, sorry.
So basically what's happening is the heart is not pumping as well as it should. So you would see someone who's very cold, you might see someone who's very pale, because basically what's happening, it's dry and it's weakened, so therefore it's not pumping, so the blood's not going to the periphery, it's not going to the surface, so you're going to get a cold, pale.
Would other dry symptoms, would that bring out other dry symptoms like psoriasis or anything like that? Or not? No.
Liver, please. Liver. That starts at the liver. We mentioned that.
Okay.
I'm sure we mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Eczema and skin conditions,
Yeah.
liver. But liver's going to affect all this, don't forget. Like what we've just said, it's all starting with digestion. It starts at the core fire. So, yeah. Because you've got a systemic reaction, basically. It's coming out to the skin, out to the furthest most point. So blood's not going to its surface, cold, pale. Typically valves not closing properly. So what happens there is because we are dry, lack of lubrication, atrophy, so everything is weakened because it's dry. So what happens with the valves is the tissue stiffens as it dries out. Think of it like, you know, we talk about the body as the terrain. Yeah, well, think of it like land. Think of it like a desert. You know, if you've got a watered, moist soil that's malleable, that moves, that you can do something with, or you've got a dried out with cracks in, you're not doing anything with that. It's not moving, it's not going anywhere. So just keep in mind the terrain of the land because what's happening is as this dry state weakens the tissue, then these valves harden, and as they harden, they're dry, they've got no lubrication, they don't move, so they don't become valves anymore, so they're not working. So blood vessels also harden, and typically what you get is hardening of the arteries. So people who are, just a little bit about constitution, people who are tend to be on the Vata side of constitution, they might be prone to this tissue state, so thin, weak, cold, nutritionally deficient. That's that kind of constitution, that nutritionally deficient, is going to be prone to that dry atrophy, because again, you get in a state of hardening, so you get in a state of a lack of function, a lack of functionality. Common symptoms are restlessness, anxiety, can be sharp pains in the chest, can be shortness of breath, can be angina as well. One of the confirmation points for this could be looking at the tongue. So the heart is right at the front. You know, when we did all the stuff about the tongue with the stomach and the liver and the small intestine and everything, the heart is right at the tip. And if you've got a dry red tip of the tongue, very dry, very red, then what you're looking at is a dry heat. And if you've got a dry white kind of tongue at the front, very white, then it's a dry cold. Because although we've still got dry atrophy, because of the complexity of this system and how it's interacting with digestion, it's interacting with liver, and it's interacting with the kidney and the nervous system and the lungs. Because the blood's going all over the body, then we have to accept that there might be an overlap here, and we might have someone who's got dry atrophy tissue state, but actually they're hot as well. And the heat might have brought on the dry atrophy. Do you know what I mean? So this, above all the systems, can be because it's interacting with everything. The heart is literally interacting with everything through the blood. Because of that, we can get an overlap of these tissue states. So some remedies here are, top one is cactus. Cactus. Huh? So cactus, major remedy for a weakened heart, which is what you're looking at, is a weakened state. Also beets as well, beets to help the liver to build more blood, to build stronger blood.
Beets, what do you mean?
Beets, beetroots, but not pickled from Aldi. Do you know what I mean? Like a beet. Yeah, the
What
actual.
did you say after beetroot?
I did
Just
not.
a raw.
Oh yeah. To help build, steamed is fine. Raw or steamed in a juice, that kind of thing, added to food. That's going to help the liver to build blood. Also alfalfa for minerals as well, high in minerals. So what you're doing is you're building the quality of that blood back up.
Grated, raw grated, would that be right? Or is it best to have it juiced or steamed, like you say?
Probably.
I don't know. Just alfalfa.
Just probably I would add it to the juice. I would imagine. Yeah. I'd go health food shop on that and see how it becomes, how it's supplied and stuff, and who you're working with and things like that.
Sorry, missing. What? Alpha, nutrients and what? None of us got it here.
I didn't. I
Alfalfa
just said it's good for minerals.
Minerals.
Yeah.
Is it alfalfa?
Alfalfa, you know, as in rabbit food. Alfalfa, yeah, alfalfa. No, never heard of alfalfa.
No,
Dave
that's
from Mars, that's
cress.
It
okay.
looks like cress, but it's kind of
Yeah,
like got little
yeah.
seeds on
Yeah.
top.
So another thing again would be your hawthorn, obviously, your motherwort, and also your lemon balm. And we're going to go over more of these.
I have a quick question.
Quick away.
How do you know how long someone should take it for? Just to
That's
review
got
it.
to be down to your evaluation, which we haven't done yet.
Yeah, I can't get my head around how you determine how long.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
So you just say for a set period and then you'd review it after that time?
Yeah,
to see
you
if
would
it's
review
making-
all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends how quick answer,
Mhm.
but there's going to be way more to this. So when you go down to your evaluation, we have to be incredibly thorough in the information that we achieve. None of this Reiki crap where somebody comes and goes, I think I fancy a session, and you've got nothing to go on and nothing to work on, and then they just, no, have to know, serious. So we have to go through a lot of intake, and we'll go through a whole system of how to do that, because people tend to clam up. Or it's like they're talking to the teacher, and I don't get it personally, but still. What was the quick answer? What was the question again?
How long?
Yes.
You know how long? Because I'm looking at myself
Yeah.
and bits that I can do, but then I don't have a clue how long.
No. So once we go through the evaluation, it depends how deep the systems are coming from. So you would assess how deep, how many organ systems are the symptoms affecting? That kind of thing, yeah. So if it's like me, I know a nervous system, I know digestion, I know it's cardiovascular. So you go through, okay, that's quite a systemic response.
Yeah.
So you would start off going through your materia medica, and you know the sheets that we add on, what's your net effect? Well, if your net effect is that you want to affect all of those systems, then you put together a formula, and you'd want that to work for a fair good while, and it depends what's in the formula, what's the person's constitution, and you'd review it often.
And in the materia medica, does it tell you the amounts of the herbs to use?
Yes,
Like
the books will give you the amounts to use. Yeah,
They
yeah,
do. The books do give you them, but then it's also what you learn
along the way.
Things change.
Yeah.
So you might need more of one thing and way less of the other, or way more of the other one and way less of the other, or you might need to add something else in because the other two aren't doing it.
But again, that's where learning how to formulate comes into it, and that's why we go through all the tissue states and everything, because if you can be really specific about every single point as you're going through, then you can turn around and actually say, well, okay, I'm going to use 40% of that and 30% of that and 20 of that, and I don't need to use that and that, and actually I'm going to try that for 2 weeks because that's quite strong and that's quite hot, or that's quite cooling. I don't want it to get too cool. I want to see what happens after a month, or do you know,
you always start with the lowest dose for yourself.
It's one of these things where there's so much you can learn, and then the rest of it you've kind of got to do it.
Okay.
So you need to have your books and your notes that you're working on, and then you need to do stuff, because until you do, you can't. You just need to. All this is all the background of not killing someone, basically.
And then you'll continuously add to it for years and years to come, because you will always learn and change things.
It's just one of these things that just
That's
adds to and
what I
grows.
think.
So we're making a tincture, let's say, and you'd selected 4 or 5 herbs that you wanted to put into that tincture. Would you put it in one tincture and just take that?
No.
Depends what you're working with.
And then if you wanted to, if it didn't work as a tincture, it had to work as a decoction, you'd take a bit of each?
No.
You'd have to mix it together to make a formulation.
Your best way to do it is to do it separately, and then you make your formulas. So if you want to make a lemon balm tincture, correct me if I'm wrong, you make your lemon balm tincture, can't speak, and then you add your other tincture that you've made, I don't know, top me in.
So you'd add them up to create a formula rather than
and then
making it
you
into
formulate them by measuring them out and put them into a bottle. For
Okay.
what? You get following it.
If you're using a tincture, but you can't. It's not that easy. You can't say that.
It's just because I've gone home and I've looked at stuff to try and
Yeah.
create something for myself, and then got a bit lost with it.
Yeah. Don't try and create stuff for yourself, because you haven't finished the course
No,
yet.
I know. I just wanna...
Have you even looked at the homework and thought about, okay, what would I do in that instance? Have you built a formula?
I have, yeah,
No, you haven't. Have you?
not properly.
You know what I mean?
Lost
Have you
with it.
actually looked at, you
Yeah.
know, the client one homework thing?
Yeah.
So if you look at that and think, okay, this is my client, what would I, how would I form, it's step by step by step. So it's talking you through it. Okay, answer each question just like based on our notes. Answer each question and then come to the conclusion of what you would put in a formula. Because, you know, until you start to do that and you practice doing that over and over again, you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to do yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to be, it's going to be way too random. You're either going to make yourself worse or it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
You're back in the, well, this is a load of crap room, you know, because it's not, you've got to, I know it's long-winded,
Mhm.
I know it is, and I know we haven't jumped straight in and said, right, okay, let's cure each other, but you can't do it like that.
No. Okay.
You'll not get anywhere, honestly. You
No,
won't.
no, I didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, no, you won't. You won't get anywhere.
Thing
You won't
is,
get anywhere
if
at all.
we all started to try and diagnose and do stuff without the background knowledge, the amount of stuff that you could go wrong.
Mm.
Oh yeah, you'd be dead for a start off.
Yeah,
We'd
you
kill
do
you
that,
already.
you know
I'd be
why
well
I
out
do.
Week one there.
The door's not locked and John is not there, so shall I lock the door?
No, in case you look.
No, because Odessi's gone out.
Anyone still always do?
That's right.
So you're saying don't try and do stuff yourself until you've finished all of that?
From what you're saying, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Polite is that's not
Yeah,
impolite.
no,
I know.
no.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's how I feel.
So and as correct as that is, that's too easy an answer, and I don't
was
want to
trying-
give that answer.
I
I know
was
where you're going, but
Sorry.
I'm sitting here and this is on my shoulders, so I'm not saying that
Sorry.
because that's too easy.
Yeah.
That's too. I know what Sammy means, but I'm not saying that. That's too easy an answer. So you have to work your way through the background, and until you get that client sheet, and somebody can give you that client sheet, and you can go, right, let's formulate then. Come on, what's my tissue state, and what's my energetics, and where are my symptoms, and have I checked this, that? You're not at a position to do that yet.
No.
None of yous are. None of you are in a position to do that yet. So until you're at that position, you're just having a little bit of a go, and you probably won't be successful, and you might make yourself worse. So don't do it. Okay.
Mhm.
We'll get to a point where we're actually going to be doing evaluation, and we're actually going to be. I don't know when we're going to get to that point. I don't know what year it'll be. But we'll get to a point where we're actually doing
20
valuation.
years from now.
Yes, yeah. But we'll get there, and it's like whether you tincture or to whether to do something as a tea. Remember when we was doing the gut, and we was actually going on about some things are actually delivered better as a tea,
Yeah.
and like marshmallow is better delivered as you got to deliver it as a powder. You're not in a position yet to put it all together as a big picture. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's not.
Yeah.
But the more you practice the background of it, the more it'll become second nature. And it's like driving a car. It's at the minute it's like giving you the keys to the Range Rover and saying, so just pop down to Bristol, and actually you passed your test. No, you haven't passed your test. It's like you haven't passed your test, and you've only been learning to drive in a Fiat 126.
And can I just add to not get Vicky into any trouble, because it wasn't my intention, I have done a 2-year herbal course, and even though I've done that and I know the basics, I know absolutely nothing about the pitta, vata, blah blah blah, so I am still learning now. So that is the only reason I do the things I do, because I know the basics. What did you say?
Nothing? Right, okay. Was that all, is that all right?
No,
Yeah.
because it was
I know,
it's
listen,
playing
it's sort
on
of-
mind. That's what I
Yeah,
was
no,
trying to
don't
say,
let
basically.
play on your mind, you won't know it yet.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay.
I know, and I know it feels like we've been going forever, and I'm still saying you won't know it yet.
Yeah.
But it's massive.
Yeah.
This is a massive subject.
It's when you start talking through things and it highlights stuff that you can feel and you know is going
you
on.
know,
yourself.
yeah, and
It's
you
like,
get excited,
I need to
don't
fix
you?
that, I
You
need
want to
to
fix
that,
it, yeah. I know. But you know what? You do you know what you could do? You could all do. You know that client sheet.
Yeah.
Has anyone got it?
Yeah.
Oh, baby, I love you.
So, 'cause you-
Right, so that client sheet, you can do that with yourself. You stick these down for yourself.
Okay. Okay.
So you build yourself. You are client Joe, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And you start doing that to you, and then you actually you can start to work with that, and then this one I've done. I feel like I'm sat on this fire. Talk about rising fire. Bloody hell. So then you've got your formulation sheet. That's where you start, rather than like when we go through things. Oh, I've got a bit of that, you know. Oh,
Yeah.
Hawthorn. I'll have some of that then. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's exactly what we don't want to be.
Yeah.
because it'll just all get all muddled up, and your system will be going, whoa, what's going on? What's she doing now? What's all this? What's going on? It won't work.
Yeah.
Okay. So you put yourself as a client first, and start to do that, or work on that first.
Yeah.
And then do and build yourself a profile. If you want to heal yourself, build yourself a profile. And as we get towards the end, by the time we get to evaluation, we get to actually do some mixing and stuff. In what century that is, when I'm really old, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get this. You get all your notes out on the table, and you can think, right, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas at the minute,
Yeah. No, I know.
you're not there. No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I'm.
Does everyone get that?
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines because I don't mind saying I've got high blood pressure and I've sort of been trying to lower it, and then I've loads of stress in the summer, and it's gone back, and the doctor just wants to put me on tablets, and I'm like, no, give me another month. I'm trying to do it, so I'm like drinking hibiscus tea because I know hibiscus tea is really good, but it's not like a major thing.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm trying to exercise. I'm trying to do the basics that won't harm me because I don't know enough about doing the formulation. So what I can do is do the things that aren't going to harm me either way, and hopefully make me a bit healthier.
Do yourself, you know that client one sheet, and it starts off, client one is such and such, such and such, or every point that raises, do yourself one, because it won't just be high blood pressure.
It's high cholesterol as well. I know that.
Okay. So go through the list. Do you know what I mean? Go through everything.
Yeah.
Go through your notes and everything we've talked about. Cold hands, cold feet, this tissue state, that tissue state. Go through. You're right.
Pony shelter mayhem.
What's happened?
Everyone's floating all over the place, and they're running around the place all worried because it's just like flapping up in the air.
Which one is it?
I can fix it.
Which shelter is it? The one above the hay?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is the hay got wet?
Not really. I think it's okay.
Oh. Damn it.
Should we go rescue bins? 5-minute break to rescue bins.
Right. Yeah. So it won't just be that. So really like that does, really pin down on what you do in your life, everything about that, and then everything, what you drink, what's when things are worse, what gluten intolerance, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Go through. You build yourself into a client sheet, and then start to look at it, because it won't just be the high blood pressure, but it's cholesterol as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Build a profile.
Yeah.
I know you want to do it like now,
Yeah.
but well, there might be something that's
Try and
useful
start this
today.
week.
There might be something that's
There
useful
definitely
today.
is. There's been things going off. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be something that's useful.
Yeah.
But if there's the way to think of it is, like you've just said, we don't want to just pick on one thing.
Yeah.
Because if I just picked on one thing, for me, it would be bloody disastrous. Like Bailey's got so many autoimmune complications
Yeah.
that if we just went, well, Bailey really needs to sort her cough out, or she really needs to sort her kidneys out, then my goodness, we would obliterate something else.
Yeah.
So we have to be certain about what we do, and it won't just be that. So build yourself into a client sheet first.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't take a lot to do. It's just looking at yourself.
Yeah.
It's just that's hard to do. People can see it for other people.
Yeah.
They're always ready to go, oh, you can do that. But to see it for yourself is actually quite difficult to do.
It's when you go through the systems and the different symptoms of things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily have related anything that I'm experiencing to the cardiovascular, but now that we've gone through it, I'm like,
I know.
there's a few things.
Scary,
there.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It starts to get scary, and then you want to drink all the tinctures in all the world.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah.
Just lie on the floor and go, kill me.
Because I started to take B vitamins and niacin, and I had a niacin flush because I took too many.
Okay, whoa, hang on a minute.
God.
Hang on. Whoa, pause. Right.
Just give her the water.
Where am I? where was I talking about? Oh, right, I'm here. Okay, right, okay. So, what dose niacin did you take?
I took 2 tablets.
Okay, what dose?
I'm not really sure. I think they're 30.
Or 300.
No, they were standard.
Yeah, because
standard
someone,
ones.
you was on my nutrition course, yes.
Yeah, they were
Yes,
standard.
and another lady on my nutrition course took a 500 milligram dose
Oh shit.
instead of a 50.
Oh,
And then she brought it back to me and complained. I brought it back to me because
I didn't complain.
did.
But-
I know, but she didn't buy it from me.
Oh,
She
okay.
misinterpreted what I said, and but brought it back to me and complained and said, "That's given me. I can't take that. That's made me go really." It's like, who told you to have phone? You did. So you watched the film. It's not
No.
500.
No.
It was 50. It would start with 50 or less than 50. Right, you do get a flush.
Yeah.
It won't hurt you.
No, he just panicked when it happened, and my
'Cause
daughter went and got me an apple. and it
No,
actually
tell me what's
calmed it
happening
down.
when you have the flush. Go on.
So it starts off with pins and
Is
needles.
it from door
Yeah.
now?
Do you want me to go?
Yes, please.
It starts with pins and needles in the hands.
Yeah, no,
Then
I
it
know
goes
what happens.
Into my
Think,
face.
think about it. What's happening when you have a flush?
Opening up your blood vessels.
Yeah, it's getting everything moving.
Yeah, so it is something that I think that I need based on.
So what did you do?
I'm
Panic and
experiencing.
not take any more?
I take it now and again, but I'm not very consistent at taking stuff anyway. Like I'll take them for a few days and like, oh, I forgot about that, and then they'll stay in the. I'm like that with everything though. I don't know how to be more consistent. I'm not very consistent with exercise, taking tablets, drinking water.
At least she's being honest.
Cheers. That's
At
very
least
good.
you
to be
don't have
honest.
a serious problem that you have to take tablets every day.
Yeah,
That would be a problem.
probably would be worse then because I don't like taking them. So,
Okay.
And so then I have to remind myself to do it.
Did you take it with food?
Yes.
You did. You took it
Yes. Took it while I was eating my porridge.
with. Right. Okay.
Is that not good?
Probably would have ate the porridge and then given it an hour.
Oh, an hour. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, you know, kind of not on an empty stomach,
Ah,
The porridge
okay.
in
because
the
that's
tummy.
going to make it. So yeah, exactly.
You want the porridge
Rather
in
than
the tummy.
with the
okay,
with the
then-
porridge, maybe,
Okay, yeah.
and not take two together.
No. No.
One. Yeah. But the
That's funny.
but the flush, your body gets used to the flush,
No. Okay.
right? The flush is not going to hurt you unless you've got something that you don't know about. That then you shouldn't be prescribing to yourself anyway.
Yeah.
It won't hurt you. It's opening everything up.
Yeah.
That's what it's
I
doing.
did read. Well, I got Emily to read it to me while I was in the cold shower. Eating an apple. Apple really works though.
Because you can get the
You can get
You
non-flush.
can get a non-flush one, but they say that it might not work.
Yeah.
It's, you
It
you
doesn't
get,
work
you
out
get a
the
tiny proportion of what you're supposed to get. It's not worth
I
it.
have to adapt it to take away what it's meant to do then.
Yeah. We need to talk.
There's a
We need to talk.
The book.
We need to talk.
if you got the
talk.
book nice,
You all need to talk.
that book, the book.
There is a book on
called
It's when I'm
yeah.
struggling with something, I'll then think, what can I do to feel better about that?
Yeah.
And then I
see,
end up
that's
taking
not-
too much because I base it on how bad I'm feeling that feeling.
Yeah.
You want a fix, don't you?
Yeah. What's up?
Hang on, Ralph.
Who was it?
Customers in the shop.
There's customers in the shop now.
Guys, in the shop. Johnny's coming.
Gary's in the
Oh my goodness, today, so we've got escape ponies and
He's
right.
fixed it, don't stress. Fixed.
Yeah, that's not how to. That's not.
Oh, it's in
That's not how to react to that question.
No.
So when see this is a condition of our modern society. Oh my God, I can't cope. What can I pop?
Oh yeah.
What can I do? What can I do? What can I do?
Totally.
It has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You have to think about changing the way it is every day, so that you don't get to the point where, oh my God, what can I do about this? It's got to be a lifestyle thing rather than. Okay.
Start with blueberries is my advice.
No,
Dave.
no one listen to Dave.
They're not
Okay.
growing at the moment, so where would you get them from? You'd have to
Don't
import
listen
them.
to him.
Unless you've got some dried.
Dave, quiet.
I might not even pack them. Oh,
I'm not supposed to be swearing on this video. I just want to point that out to everyone. Twisting my melon today.
You, not swear. For a whole day.
Right, okay. Next tissue state. Gary will catch up. He's an intelligent gentleman.
I think
Right.
he's coming, so I think the bell.
Cold depression. Gary, please come and save me. Cold depression is next.
Oh,
Oh.
well, you said you was hot. Yeah, that's cooled you down. So I've saved it.
Thank you.
Oh shit.
So, cold depression, right, so very common with the elderly. Don't forget, we're not talking about depressed, we're talking about depressed tissue state. Not saying all elderly people are depressed. I'm trying to speak, I am, I tell you. So the function of the heart is depressed, it is weakened, it is cold, the tissue state is weakened, the tissue state basically is wearing out, it's wearing down, it's wearing out. So consequently from that you get a stagnating muscular contraction. So the muscular contraction is less because you get this wearing down, wearing out, less movement. Because there's less movement, sorry.
Old age.
Pretty much, yeah. So the coldness as well is slowing down. So what are we getting? We're getting a less of a vital fire. The vital fire's not there, it's slowing down. Essentially, cells are starting to basically they're starting to collapse. They've been starved of oxygen. Starved of oxygen, starved of nutrients, so they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So muscular contraction is less strong, so blood's not getting to the peripheries. Pale, cold skin, cold feet, cold hands, shortness of breath. So, but what's happening is the blood's not moving quickly enough through the system. If the blood's not moving quickly enough, where do we expect the blood to pool? Think about it.
The legs.
In the veins, typically the legs, feet. You get old people with very blue, veiny, pronounced vein feet. Yeah.
Like back swollen as well.
Yeah, swollen as well. Yeah. So pooling in the veins towards the feet. You get low blood pressure because it's not moving. It's depressed. Yeah. And the blood's not making it up the body, it's not making it around the system because it's all weakened. Main thing here is to look for is coldness and paleness, and also a bluiness to the tongue, to the end of the tongue, and also a weak pulse. People who don't heal, slow wound healing.
What's the tongue bit?
Bluey colour. If you think about those, a lot of the veins being very pronounced and very bluish, so it's that bluish,
It's like a purple tinge, isn't it?
purpley blue colour. So here we would use circulatory stimulants. So you'd be wanting to use hot, spicy, pungent, warming plants. Because we want to get everything up and moving and working. We want to increase that vital fire.
Hot, spicy, pungent, warm.
Pungent warming plants. So you'd be looking at cayenne pepper, garlic, ginger, prickly ash bark, the bark of prickly ash as well, ruled by Mars, so it's a real,
Prickly.
it's like a prickly ash is like a jump start to the blood. It's like giving it that like an electrical
Sorry,
spark
did
to
you
the
say it was
blood.
ruled by Mars?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's not really
Oh no,
overly
you said
important,
it.
but
You said
yeah,
it, so
yeah,
I've written it.
yeah. Rosemary as well. Rosemary is a good circulatory stimulant. It's not overly hot. It's not overly spicy, but there might be a situation where you need to use a stimulant that's not too, basically what you're looking at is if the hotter it is, the more it's going to drive, the more it's going to push things, get things going. What you have to be careful with anything to do with plants and the circulatory system, and should have started with this, is you have to be careful with people using they're already medicated with drugs such as statins and stuff like that.
That's it.
So, what could you not give them some of these if they are on?
No, because we'll go into it in a minute, but you have to be careful. Some statins don't always agree. Well, I know not really with anything, but you've got a lot of plants here that are going to thin the blood to drive. So you've got to watch what you're doing. Another plant to use that's not going to do it in the same way is ginkgo as well, and it's gonna move things by opening up the capillaries, so it increases circulation by thinning the blood. So that's different. Whereas the others are increasing circulation by being hot and pungent and going, come on, get on with it, and moving everything along. Whereas that's doing it in a totally different way. Now we kind of think of it as a something for the mind. Yeah, but it's actually working on this attention and the mind it's working on it through the vascular system. It's actually working through the cardiovascular system. That's how it works. We'll go into that. We'll go into the plants in a minute.
So it opens the capillaries and thins the blood.
Yeah, but we'll go into it in a minute because again that's a bit too simple. So prickly ash, just quickly on prickly ash, it diffuses through the nerves and the blood, so it's a real fast action, and you could say it kind of reawakens the nerves. You do use it as a really low dose, because I might not talk about prickly ash again, so just something to look into, to keep in mind, prickly ash. So you'd use it as a driver, like 5-10%, no more than that. And it works, how it works is different to the others, which are this heat and this driving heat. Different to that, it works on the junction between the smooth muscles of the inside of the artery, so the smooth muscles, and the nerves that are coming to interact with the artery that are making it go boom, boom, boom. Do you know what I mean? They're pushing the blood along. So it works on that junction between the two, and it's like it gives it a bump start.
The junction
between the smooth muscle and the nervous system. So how the nervous system interacts with the artery, that's all become weakened and depressed.
And that's all prickly ash.
Yeah, and it works by reigniting that.
I've never even heard of prickly ash. Is that like the ash tree? Or is it a plant?
Do you know? I don't know.
I just never heard.
It will be something on its own.
Yeah.
It won't be normal ash, I wouldn't think.
No, I don't think so. But I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I've used it in a tincture, but I've not had the plant in front of me.
Surrounded by
Right. So.
That's right. I had like cactus.
Moving on to next one is damp stagnation. I'm going to start to whiz along now because not being funny, but what time are we on? Somebody?
22.
23.
Yeah.
Just looking at what's it called, 2 fig tree.
No.
Prickly ash.
Right. So damp stagnation. So toxicity, excess accumulation. So it's what we're looking at is toxicity. Basically, it's an excess accumulation of metabolic waste products. Damp stagnation. Easy peasy.
Excess accumulation
of metabolic waste products. So we're looking at why have we got an excess accumulation of metabolic waste products? Due to the malfunction of channels of elimination in the body. So we've got a toxic buildup. That's either coming from the elimination through the liver, or it's either coming through elimination through the kidneys. Typical damp stagnation tissue state example is type 2 diabetes. And again, if you think about the difference between, if you think about it, it's damp, it's overly damp, and it's stagnant. So if you put that into perspective with a circulatory system, it's like the difference between blowing water through a straw or honey through a straw. It's not, that's what the heart's dealing with there on a cardiovascular level. Yeah, it's not.
So damp stagnation is like honey through a straw.
No. So typical oh god, give me straight, what am I trying to say? A typical condition which has a damp stagnation tissue state is type 2 diabetes. Because if you think about it, it's everything's overly damp and everything is stagnant. So what's stagnant? It's not moving. Yeah? It's just not moving. It's too damp, it's too stagnant, it's not moving. It's an excess accumulation of metabolic waste products. Just metabolic waste products, nothing else. But there's too much, so it's either not going out through the bowel or it's not going out through the kidney. It's a build-up, it's a backup of it, it's stagnant.
And that's what type 2 diabetes is? It's a build-up of sugars or something, isn't it?
It's not really
Yeah, I don't want to go into what type 2 diabetes is, but have a look at it, and then if you look up the all about type 2 diabetes, just the actual what it is, yeah, and then see how it fits into damp stagnation. Again, do you know what? This is kind of things you can all be doing at home, yeah. Or this is like when I say there's no homework. There's always homework and shit tons of it. Look for it. I don't want to set it, but it's like that. That is a typical kind of homework thing. Well, what did she mean by that? Type 2 diabetes is damp stagnation. Hang on, let's have a look at what type 2 diabetes is. Right, okay, oh, I see how it fits in. Or no, I don't actually. I'll ask her that next time. Do you know what I mean? So there's always some homework. So kind of, this is the kind of thing you can kind of explore into it. Because if we had to go into everything I say, honest, we'd never get there. And what I'm saying about blowing honey through a straw is, if you relate that tissue state to cardiovascular, so see the straw as the cardiovascular moving things along, it's like the heart having to send water down a straw, easy, blowing water down a straw, or honey, you can't blow honey down a straw, can you? It's thick, it's gloopy, it's stuck, it's stagnant. Yeah, it's not moving. Yeah, everyone gets that, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a good analogy or a bad analogy, but still. So waste products are floating in the blood. The blood is thicker. Pressure. So what does if the blood's thicker and there's waste products in the blood, then what's going to happen if the heart's got to pump too hard? Then the blood pressure's going to go up. Yeah. So pressure goes up, clogs up the tissues. Yeah, when the tissues get clogged up, they die. So typically, type 2 diabetes, my dad's been diabetic for, 40 odd, how old am I? 40 years. He's been diabetic for 40 years. Always has to have his feet and his eyes checked because the capillaries in the eyes, it's that lack of movement to the extremities, if you like, simply put. You know, it's got to be, it's stagnant. It's not getting there. Got to, tissue dies, typically. Diabetics end up having their leg off, that kind of shit.
All that happened to my dad. He just got saved, but I mean, it was he had high blood pressure, heart disease, angina, had a heart bypass, that didn't go wrong. Then had strokes and ended up in a nursing home, but he had type 2 diabetes from early 50s, and he got gangrene on the toe about 2 months before he died.
Yeah.
So all those sort of damp.
Can you see how all that's related to get all that's linked together? Every single bit of that is if one feeds the other, feeds the other, feeds the other, feeds the other.
Yeah.
And actually, do you know what? When did the diagnosis with type 2?
I'd say.
Did he have that before he had all heart stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
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 Because that follows
early 50s, maybe late 40s.
It follows it.
Yeah.
So he started off with basically what was previous to the type 2 diagnosis would have been he would have gone for quite a long time with digestive malfunction. Let's just call it a malfunction.
Yeah.
He would have for a long time before the symptom presented itself as, because basically by the time it's type 2 diabetes, the system's gone, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the vital force screaming.
Yeah.
Imbalance, can't do this anymore, can't readdress it. So he would have gone for quite a long time before that.
Yeah.
But from that connects to circulation, connects to the heart. It just goes, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's a good example. Good example. So again, we're looking at due to the malfunction of the channels of elimination, so those toxins build up. So a bit like bad blood, when we're talking about blood, the quality of the blood is not clean. It's not clean, oxygenated blood. Yeah. That is damp stagnation. That is damp stagnation. And of course, think about it, when we're talking about one thing leads to another, damp stagnation is pretty much going to lead to, if the tissues are damp and stagnant, then it's going to lead to cold depression. Because if they're stagnant, then they're not, it's going to develop into a cold tissue state, because it's not moving, because there's no vital force moving it along. Yeah. And because there's no vital force moving it along and it's stagnant, then eventually what you're going to do is you're going to get a depressed tissue state, so nothing's actually going to work. And that's how it goes from diabetes to heart to this to that. That's how it works. Or not works, you should say. So basically what's happening is your tissue states become I'm talking about tissue state now, not diabetes. So tissue state becomes starved and basically dies because the capillaries become clogged. There's no oxygen and nutrients transfer to the cells. What's wrong with your hand?
Oh, I don't know.
So you've got that capillary bed that we talked about being the point of transfer. Yeah, that's not happening. It's all clogged up, it's not working, there's no transfer into the cells, so therefore they die. No nutrients getting through. So, signs of damp stagnation before anyone's diagnosed with anything. Signs of damp stagnation, tissue states, joint pain. Joint pain, arthritis, fluid accumulation, obviously, because it's damp stagnation. So someone who holds a lot of fluid, yeah. These are, like we've just said about Bernie's dad, these are often signs that appear before any cardio signs appear. So if you've got someone who's presenting themselves with loads of joint pain and loads of fluid accumulation, you need to see what else they're presenting themselves with as well, because are we going down a cardio route? We're obviously starting at a gut, liver, backup situation there, but how far is that going along? People feeling very dull, deflated, tired, heavy, almost like a heavy sinking feeling. People whose metabolism is really, really slow. Again, water retention. And the treatment across the board is going to be alternative diuretics. Your alternative group, your diuretic group. So your alternatives are going to be working on the blood. Anything that cleans the blood. So when you're looking at cleaning the blood, you're looking at burdock. So we're going back to where the liver and the blood and all the rest of it, it comes round. So you've got burdock, you've got dandelion root, blood cleaners. That's what we want to be doing. We want to clean that blood. That blood's full of debris. We want to clean it. And then diuretic, because we've got damp, stagnation. So the stagnation is getting rid of the crap, and we want to clean that blood. But we've got too much damp. That's why we're stagnating. So we want to move that out. So we want a diuretic to move it along. So you're looking at nettle leaf. Nettle leaf, great, because it's a diuretic and it's going to build up the blood. Brilliant. Dandelion leaf, horsetail. So I just want to run through that one again, just so that we've got it. So what we want to do with the damp stagnation is we want to drain the dampness. We want to open the channels of elimination. We want to clear the blood. We want to circulate the blood. We want to clear the liver. Improve digestion, that's really important because that's how it all started in the first place. Then we want to set about building that blood, building the strength of the blood, the quality of the blood. And we want to build the fire in the gut, so we want to put that fire back, because how have we got to a point where we're at the damp stagnation? So we want to be putting that fire back. It's too low. If it wasn't low, then we wouldn't be at a point of damp stagnation. So we want to put the fire back as well. Can everyone see why the fire needs to go back? Because if the fire's strong in the gut and the digestion's working properly, and it's this person's having a poo every day and a wee and it's all working and it's great and just going round and round and everything's working how it should do. If that's all working properly, then the blood is going to pump correctly and it's all going to get to the peripheries right. So there's going to be no stagnation because it's all moving. Everything's designed to move, not move. Next. Okay, so next one is damp relaxation. So we're still in damp, but instead of stagnation, we're in relaxation. So I like to look at, if you think about damp relaxation as an earth deficiency, an earth element deficiency. So think of it like the river going down the riverbanks. No, the river is held in place by the riverbanks. It's better. River's held in place by the riverbank. But if the bank of the river is relaxed and it falls away and it sags, then the water of the river is just going to go. Yeah, so the water of the river leaks again. So what you're looking at there is veins that are prone to stagnation. Remembering that the veins are passive, they have no pump. We've got valves to help the blood to continue to move. But if those valves become relaxed, then that vein is going to become relaxed. Not in a good way. They've got no smooth muscle contraction. They've got no interaction from the nervous system. There's no stimulant from the nervous system telling them to do anything. Either the little valves work or the little valves don't. So if it's become relaxed like the riverbed, then you're going to get stagnation. So again, you've got something that leads to something else. Yeah, damp relaxation is going to lead to stagnation. Yeah. You've already got, veins are already relaxed, you see. They're already not, they're not pumping, they're not, you know, they're already prone to this tissue state, so it's really important. So the tissue becomes too slack, too lax, too loose. So typically a condition of this is, obviously, as you would expect, varicose veins. So you've got varicose veins, the blood is pooling in the vein. It's pooling, it's becoming stagnant. The root cause of that is the structure of the vein or the riverbed, yeah? That's the cause of it. It's because the vein has lost its integrity, it's lost its ability to hold in the fluid. Hemorrhoids as well, same thing.